Welcome to Streaming News Network by Claude McDaniel. News without the hype and biased reporting. Please like and subscribe.
This is Claude McDaniel with Streaming News Network. Outgoing Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard has released a large collection of documents that she says provide evidence that Dr. Anthony Fauci suppressed the COVID-19 lab leak theory and later gave misleading testimony to Congress regarding his involvement with intelligence agencies. In a video announcing the release on her final day in office, Gabbard claimed Fauci helped direct millions of United States taxpayer dollars toward gain-of-function research involving bat coronaviruses at the Wuhan Institute of Virology in China. According to Gabbard, the newly released documents show Fauci worked closely with intelligence officials during the pandemic while publicly presenting himself as an independent scientific expert. She alleges he played a significant role in shaping intelligence assessments that supported a natural animal origin explanation for the virus. Gabbard also claims correspondence in the document release contradicts Fauci's testimony before a House coronavirus panel in 2024. She further cites whistleblower accounts alleging that intelligence analysts who questioned official conclusions about COVID's origins faced retaliation, professional setbacks, and pressure to conform. The release also alleges that a small group of government-supported scientists repeatedly influenced intelligence findings that were later used to challenge the lab leak theory. Dr. Fauci has not publicly responded to the latest allegations. Former President Joe Biden issued a preemptive pardon to Fauci shortly before leaving office. This is Claude McDaniel for Streaming News Network. The number of deportation flights carrying illegal immigrants out of the United States reached its highest level since President Donald Trump returned to office, according to newly released figures. Nearly 300 deportation flights departed the country during the month of May, more than double the 126 flights recorded during President Trump's first full month back in office. The Department of Homeland Security says the federal government has deported nearly 900,000 illegal immigrants since January 20, 2025. Officials also report that approximately 3,000 government-chartered removal flights have operated during that period. The Trump administration's immigration enforcement strategy focuses on three main stages: arrest, detention, and removal. Federal agencies have expanded resources over the past year and a half to increase arrests nationwide and add detention capacity while immigration cases move through the court system. According to Department of Homeland Security officials, more than 400,000 illegal immigrants were arrested during a recent one-month period, contributing to a total of more than 900,000 arrests since early 2025. Officials also report that an estimated 2,200,000 people have voluntarily left the United States through self-deportation, in addition to those removed on government flights. This is Claude McDaniel for Streaming News Network. Questions surrounding Maryland Governor Wes Moore's military record have resurfaced after a retired Army colonel called for the release of all documentation related to Moore's service and awards. The controversy centers on Moore's 2006 application for the highly competitive White House Fellowship Program, where he indicated he had been awarded a Bronze Star. Critics argue the award had not yet been formally issued at the time of the application. Moore, a Democrat and former Army captain who served in Afghanistan from 2005 to 2006, has said the discrepancy resulted from a paperwork error. His former commanding officer, Lieutenant General Michael Fenzel, has supported that explanation. According to Moore and Fenzel, the future governor had been recommended for the Bronze Star and told the award was expected to be finalized before fellowship selections were made. However, the paperwork was never completed. The issue gained renewed attention after retired Army Colonel Drew Sullins called for greater transparency regarding Moore's military records, training history, and awards. In 2024, Moore officially received the Bronze Star for meritorious service during a private ceremony at the governor's residence in Annapolis. Fenzel, who had originally recommended Moore for the award, presented the medal after learning it had never been formally issued. Moore, now considered by some political observers as a potential Democratic contender for the 2028 presidential election, has maintained that the matter was an administrative mistake rather than an intentional misrepresentation. This is Claude McDaniel for Streaming News Network. Two former Florida Highway Patrol troopers are facing multiple felony charges after investigators accused them of submitting false invoices for off-duty law enforcement work at the Champions Gate Community Development District in Central Florida. 63-year-old Captain Lanita King and 43-year-old Trooper Maurice Vilcent were arrested this week following an investigation by the Office of Inspector General within the Florida Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles. Both have since been released on bond. According to court records, the pair are charged with grand theft, fraud to obtain property, falsifying public records, and falsifying official documents while serving as public employees. Investigators allege the troopers billed the Community Development District for off-duty law enforcement assignments they never worked. The district contracted the officers through their personal corporations to provide security and traffic-related services. Court documents claim Vilcent collected more than $12,000 for 48 unworked shifts between October and March. Investigators also allege he attempted to bill an additional $3,120 for 12 more shifts in April. Authorities further claim some invoices included dates when he was not available to perform the work, including periods spent outside the country. The Champions Gate Community Development District has declined public comment on the case. Both former troopers are expected to face further court proceedings as the investigation continues. This is Claude McDaniel for Streaming News Network. False robberies and $1.4 million stolen in a federal benefit fraud bust in Massachusetts by suspects using welfare programs. Investigators allege many of the schemes relied on identity theft, with some suspects reportedly living under stolen identities, making their true names unknown to law enforcement. Among the cases highlighted by prosecutors, a Framingham man is accused of using a stolen identity to obtain more than $546,000 in government benefits. In a separate case, a Worcester man faces conspiracy charges related to an alleged scheme in which a fake armed robbery was staged to help participants qualify for special visas available to crime victims. Other defendants face charges ranging from healthcare fraud to making false statements in order to obtain government benefits. Federal officials say the arrests are part of a broader effort led by the newly created Benefit and Voter Fraud Team, working alongside a national fraud enforcement initiative established earlier this year. Authorities describe the operation as the beginning of a continuing crackdown on fraud involving public assistance programs and voter-related offenses. The cases remain pending, and all defendants are presumed innocent unless proven guilty in court. This is Claude McDaniel of Streaming News Network. A proposed California wealth tax aimed at billionaires is generating concern among some high-net-worth residents, with critics warning the measure could eventually be expanded to affect smaller fortunes. The proposal, which recently qualified for California's November ballot after gathering more than 1 million verified signatures, would impose a tax on the wealth of the state's billionaires. Supporters argue the measure would generate revenue for public programs, while opponents warn it could encourage wealthy residents to leave the state. Tax advisor David Lesperance, who works with affluent families, says he has received increasing inquiries from millionaires concerned that future lawmakers could lower the threshold and broaden the tax's reach. The debate intensified after economist Emmanuel Saez, one of the proposal's authors, suggested during a recent public debate that similar taxes could be considered in the future, raising questions about whether the measure would truly be a one-time action. Business groups have argued that future legislative changes could potentially expand the tax to cover a wider group of Californians. Of the proposal strongly dispute that claim, maintaining that any amendments would have to remain consistent with the measure's original purpose. Meanwhile, Governor Gavin Newsom has expressed opposition to the proposal and has reportedly explored possible alternatives with its backers. California voters are expected to decide the measure's fate when it appears on the statewide ballot this November. This is Claude McDaniel with Streaming News Network. A congressional candidate in New York is facing scrutiny after promoting a campaign raffle that offered World Cup tickets in exchange for volunteer work. Daria-Liza Avila Chevalier, who is running to represent New York's 13th congressional district, announced on social media that supporters could be entered into a drawing for premium tickets to the England vs. Panama World Cup match by participating in campaign canvassing activities. According to the promotion, volunteers who completed a minimum number of campaign shifts would become eligible for the raffle. The offer was designed to encourage voter outreach and campaign engagement. However, FIFA, the international governing body for soccer, reportedly says it did not authorize the ticket giveaway and is now taking steps to address the matter. FIFA rules state that World Cup tickets are issued as personal, revocable licenses and cannot be used for advertising, promotional campaigns, contests, raffles, or sweepstakes without prior written approval from the organization. Officials say those restrictions are intended to protect the integrity of ticket distribution, ensure fair access for fans, and safeguard the commercial rights associated with the World Cup tournament. Chevalier has not publicly indicated whether the raffle will be modified or cancelled following FIFA's response. This is Claude McDaniel with Streaming News Network. The music industry is mourning the loss of Grammy-nominated record producer Britavious Chambers, better known as Tay Keith, who has died at the age of 29. Authorities in Nashville, Tennessee, say officers responded to a welfare check at his apartment on Thursday afternoon, where they found him unresponsive. Investigators stated that foul play is not currently suspected. The cause of death has not yet been determined and remains pending autopsy results. Tay Keith rose to prominence in the late 2010s as one of hip-hop's most successful producers, working with major artists including Beyoncé, Drake, Travis Scott, and Eminem. He earned his first Grammy nomination in 2019 for co-producing the chart-topping song Sicko Mode. A second Grammy nomination followed in 2024 for Rich Flex. Throughout his career, Tay Keith produced 4 number-1 hits on the Billboard Hot 100 chart, including First Person Shooter, and collaborated extensively with Sexy Red on several popular tracks. His influence on modern hip-hop production helped shape some of the genre's biggest hits over the past decade. This is Claude McDaniel with Streaming News Network. Comedian and television host Carlos Mencia has been arrested and charged with multiple felony tax-related offenses in California. Prosecutors allege that Mencia, whose legal name is Ned Arnell Holness, failed to file personal and corporate income tax returns with the intent to evade taxes over a 6-year period. According to the charges, Mencia faces 12 felony counts, including 6 counts related to personal income taxes and 6 counts related to corporate income taxes. Authorities claim he failed to report approximately $8,700,000 in combined personal and corporate income between 2019 and 2024. Investigators allege that roughly $3,300,000 in personal income and $5,400,000 in income connected to his company, Nedlos Entertainment Incorporated, were not properly reported. Prosecutors further claim the comedian owes more than $300,000 in unpaid California taxes, including approximately $267,000 in personal income taxes and more than $35,000 in corporate taxes. Mencia is scheduled to be arraigned on June 22. Bail has been set at $250,000. The charges are allegations, and Mencia is presumed innocent unless proven guilty in a court of law.
Thank you for listening to Streaming News Network videos and shorts. Please like and subscribe to our news channel.